Spider-Man, well, it continues to throw a few surprises our way before release. Spider-Man is shaping up to be a very unusual product line. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here, and thank you again for hanging out for another video. Now, if you're wondering why you're here for today's video, well, there's a lot going on inside of Magic the Gathering that a lot of players forget actually happens at each and every release. And you can compare information from release to release to give you a generalization of where the product lines are going to end up. Now, if we look back at some products like Karlov Manor that tanked off the board, all the singles collapsed and never really recovered, sets like Crimson Vow did the same thing after release. But during the build-up, you would think some of these sets would have a better taking off point. If we compared this to something like Final Fantasy with massive sales-driven product for sealed and singles, we can include Tarkir Dragonstorm in that exact same kind of visual of how the product was released. It did exceptionally well. Even Edge of Eternities has continued to dominate top 10 videos. It has tons of sales in the singles market as well as the sealed product line, and there's a lot of chatter and traffic about where these cards are going to head for the future. Spider-Man is a little bit different. Now, we had the initial wave when we saw this product was coming up, the first initial spoilers hit, and of course we saw what happened to collector boxes. As soon as they started to hit the pre-order season, things went through the roof. They took off to the next level, and a lot of players kind of had the FOMO event happen early. Now, as this has continued on, yes, we've had strong sales for most of the product line for sealed product, but something unusual is happening here, and that comes down to, well, pre-order period. Traditionally, during pre-orders, you get hundreds, if not thousands, of sales for certain individual Magic cards. We know how well the sealed product line does, but the singles market matters a lot too, because anyone who is going to flip boxes needs to flip these products in a very tight time frame. They need to make sure they get their money out of the market, and if you're a player paying attention to the market, you can make a lot of money, or you can save a lot of money. And that's what we're here to talk about, because Spider-Man, the singles market, isn't doing what it should do. If you look up many of the cards from Spider-Man, take your pick. I'm not going to give you visuals today. We're going to talk about this. If you looked up Anti-Venom, if you looked up cards like Hydro Man or the versions of Spider-Man, none of these cards are selling in the thousands yet. Not even close. More of the spoilers are being revealed, and most of these cards aren't even clearing 100 copies a day right now. Local LGSs that sold out of so many Final Fantasy, so many Tarkir Dragonstorm, so many Edge of Eternities, including things like Ancient Tomb. Well, the interesting thing is, that's not happening with Spider-Man. These are all readily available at my local LGS, as well as many online retailers I've confirmed with. They've got the stuff ready when the set releases. They're waiting to see who's going to pre-order buy, and it's just not happening. Now, when something like this doesn't happen, you may think, people just know that after pre-orders, things collapse in price. That's true. It happens a lot. Maybe not to every card. There's always a few cards that chase up the beanstalk instead of fall down from it. But in this case, no one's chasing up the beanstalk. The cards are not moving in the normal fashion we have traditionally seen over the last couple of years. Now, that doesn't mean things can't change. And there are certain cards that have a little more traffic, but even cards like the Infinity Stone, right? Even looking at the Soul Stone, it is selling nowhere near what I would have anticipated, comparatively speaking, to things we saw in the Surge foil market and the other types after release. It hasn't moved the same way. And when pre-order season opened for those products, things went off the hook. Not happening with Spider-Man. It's not moving the same way. Now, that doesn't mean these cards don't have value. It doesn't mean people aren't going to buy them. But it seems right now the market has decided to kind of keep their powder dry. They're waiting to see how the market's going to react. They're waiting to see what synergies are found with these cards before they buy them. And they're waiting for the best possible deal, or they're skipping things entirely. There are many fans of Magic the Gathering who are as well Spider-Man fans, and of course they're buying products. We can tell by looking at things in the Play Booster box department, looking at pre-release orders for upcoming events at your local LGS for the pre-release season. Going to the pre-release is always a fun time. And of course, jumping over and looking at bundle packs and stuff, they're selling really well. And we've seen that for the last couple of years, that release after release, these markets continue to move in a forward-driven motion that players can afford. They think it's the best deal, so they buy in. But Play Booster Box is doing the same thing, and collector boxes are sold out at a lot of places. So you would think the singles market would be doing something a little bit different, and it's just not. It is not moving the way Final Fantasy did or any of the other recent release sets, and I'm excusing things like Aether Drift from today's conversation, even Outlaws of Thunder Junction. They didn't move in the same way, although Bloomborough was a major top-end spender. It actually happened in week 3 after release, when all the talent cards took off, that things really went off, and you can see many of those cards never recovered from their previous levels and are very affordable at this time. So the pre-release money on that set was made later on, and Spider-Man might have that same kind of turn time where it's like we got to wait and see how these things perform, see what people do with them. A lot of players are smart. They'll wait to see what other content creators or other visual people who put the decks together first will come up with. They'll wait to see what appears, try to mimic, copy, and modify. Now, the reasons behind how singles move is a more complicated matter than just saying that's a hot card. A lot of content creators and real professional Magic players will look at these cards in a different light, decide what formats they're going to fit best into, and make some recommendations based on that information that comes over time and from being around the game long enough that you can see the future of these cards and the potential synergy that will follow. Now with Spider-Man, I think we have a lot of different ways of looking at these cards, saying that they're going to have long-term life inside Commander, Brawl, Modern, Pioneer. Standard, of course, is going to have them for years. And people are going to play things like Spider Tribal. They're going to try things out in 60-card Spider-Man decks, trying to find a winning formula in Standard. But that doesn't mean the cards are going to be expensive. It doesn't mean you have to have them right now. My fear is that we are going to have a situation with a card like Stock Up or the Talent cards, where it gets realized a little bit later. Now, no card has given me that indicator right now, but that doesn't mean that it can't happen. So it's something to pay attention to save yourself money. Look at some of the commons and uncommons, look at some of the rares and mythics, and decide if there's a good value point for you to buy some of these cards now. Save yourself a ton of money in case they reverse, but at the same time, be willing to accept that some of these cards are more likely going to tumble down, because if you don't have high pre-orders and people need to flip these cards, and it looks like a lot of box sales have happened for this particular set, we are going to see a glut of singles hit the market. It will be a race to the bottom, and you can be the beneficiary. You can come out ahead by waiting to see what the market does and just retaliate by purchasing the cards that interest you the most and what cards you think have a long-term value point for you as a player, a collector, investor, or a speculator. There's a lot to consider with the set, but I think the way the market's reacting right now is pretty smart. I think there's a lot of people out there who didn't buy boxes and said this is not worth it for me right now, but I will pick up the singles. And when we know this much sealed product has moved, we know what's going to happen. It's going to get opened. There's going to be a lot of ripping and shipping, and a lot of the stuff is going to end up on the singles cutting room floor. Bargain basement value for you, the player, to dive into. Guys, I want to thank you for hanging out today. Spider-Man has been an unusual set so far. The closer we get, the more cards we see, the crazier it is to realize that these high prices are probably going to lead to very low-priced singles. And a lot of players are waiting for that exact moment to pounce and strike, spin their own web. I know, what a pun, right? And collect on some of these amazing cards. Thanks again for hanging out today for the channel. I look forward to seeing you guys each and every day. And if you're new to the channel, if you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. And here at the end of the video, a reminder, guys, that the 30K party has passed. I will be shipping the remainder of the items this Saturday. I've arranged for some time off, and this Saturday I will ship out everything else. If you need a tracking number, feel free to contact me anytime on Monday of the following week, and I'll have all the tracking numbers by that point. It's a little unusual for UPS. I don't use their stuff very often, so I don't always get what's going on. Thanks again. We'll talk to you guys soon. A big shout out and thank you to all my fantastic, generous patrons of the channel. Whether you are a YouTube membership member or one of my patrons, you make it happen each and every day. Me and my family always like to take that moment to thank you guys for supporting Team Moxman. And of course, I look forward to seeing you guys' comments every single day of the week. Guys, shop smart, shop S-Mart, and of course, turn your Necronomicon to page 916. I know, right? The Boomstick edition begins. Welcome back to the Ramble Jamble. The Ramble and the Jamble! Just so you guys know, comparatively speaking, to Tarkir Dragonstorm or even Edge of Eternities, Tarkir Dragonstorm compared to going against Spider-Man at the same kind of time period frame, down about 80%. Spider-Man is that far behind Tarkir in terms of singles. Now, if we take that and look at Edge of Eternities, it's about 60%, 59 point something. Guys, it's interesting. Low sales, though, overall for the singles market. That's telling us something. How you want to decide is up to you, but things aren't moving the way they normally should be. Thanks a lot. See you soon. The ramble and the jamble is over. No, it's not. We're never over. I'm just not here right now. You gotta think about it.